Today I'm very honored to have Dennis Joost with me. Dennis is a founder and the CEO of Knip, a digital insurance broker.
Cool.
Welcome.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to our office. Pleasure meeting you, and glad to spread the experiences and everything around scaling.
How are you today? How was your day?
Quite busy and packed as always. I mean, if you have, I think it's now 120 employees at 3 locations. There are a lot of people that approach you, and not only the employees but as well the investors. So meeting expectations is one of the core business that you are doing. Having a scale business, let's say it like this. Therefore, I think it's a lot of joy and a lot of fun that drives you through the pain and through the packed calendar, and that's essentially it. So I think every day is packed. The focus of your life is on the business, but that's how you decided to have it.
Okay. How does a typical day of Dennis Joost look like?
I think there is no real typical day. So each day is different from a focus because you essentially, I mean, each week and each month is different as well. Really depends on where the business stands, on the focus topics that you have on your list and that the investors put on you and that the board decided on. So you cannot really say, I mean, this is it. I think if I reflect the last month, I think from beginning of this year where we had a huge focus on marketing, customer acquisition and growth. And I mean, last year financing round, so flying around for 2 months to the US and visiting all the VCs. To beginning of this year being more on conceptual stuff on how to scale the business. Being now on, let's say, efficiency, I would say, and bringing in revenue. So really focus on corporations, focus on bringing conversion up in the sales funnel, digitalizing sales funnel, not just push growth. So it's each stage is different and each day is different, and really depending on where you are, financing round, before, post, whatever, legal stuff in between. That's the day. So I think a typical day is Dennis working out from 7 to 8, going to work afterwards, working to 8 till 9, driving home, enjoying dinner and going to bed.
Yeah. You talked about user acquisition and growth. Where do you stand now? I think I read somewhere that Knip is now the largest digital insurance manager in the German-speaking nations or worldwide.
I think we don't have reference numbers on worldwide, and it's hard to compare active customers, so because nobody puts the numbers out. So
how did you get to that point to have 2 or 3 times more sign-ups than the competition in your field?
I think it's tricky to reflect properly and to have arguments towards that. So I think there are a lot of reasons around. I mean, one being we have the largest financing. So if you spend it efficiently, you should have more customers or downloads than your competition. And I think we've been in a phase where we started in Switzerland, which is a quite small country, well protected, high margin country, and we didn't face any competition here. So there's finance folks, but with a slightly different model. And the first thing we saw after around about a year when we started was that there are 3 players launching at the same time in Germany, half a year after we launched in Switzerland. So what to do? I mean, you have the Series A is locked in. You're spending quite a high amount of money in Switzerland, and I mean, being German and having the focus as well on internationalization. The only chance for us was full force on Germany and try to clash the others against the wall by, being more efficient, spending more marketing, and kind of closing the market. Because I think the intention always is, if you're in these high competition phases, you have to have a differentiator, and either it's something kind of that differs you in terms of USP, usability, whatever, which is tricky in the insurance space because essentially you rely on the backends of the insurance carriers, and everybody has the same basis. So you cannot...
And products.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's, I mean, let's say the core product, and that's, a lot of people don't really see that, but the core product for Knip is the back end, it's not the front end. So we care about the front end, and it's important to have a proper kind of user experience, to have nice flows and proper processes. But essentially it's the back end, because there sits the automation. And you don't see this. But in this high competition phase, we decided to go all in. We had funding, I think, half a year before the others, so we decided to really squeeze in the market, and with that try to outperform the others and kind of position as a clear number one. With the position of that, we wanted to raise a Series B, which was as well way higher and bigger than the others had, because we felt comfortable in doing that. And I think these are the kind of the leverage points of a startup where you either are number one and you get 2 to 3 times the valuation of the number two, and lock in 2 to 3 times the money, and you can go on scaling, or you fail. And we decided to go all in.
When you started, did you start in Switzerland only in the beginning, or did you start in more than one
country? We really started in Switzerland. So it's as a German, living here now for 5 years, and we decided to start in Switzerland because we felt comfortable here. I mean, it's a comfortable country. So competition was not there. We had pretty much, let's say, huge interest of VCs, which invested as well with Alpine Creator, some family offices from here and business angels. So it was a kind of warm start in a setting where you can experience and where you feel, where at least you can make mistakes, I would say, and you still have a high margin on the customer. So in 1 year, really focus on Switzerland, getting the product right, and then we moved to Germany as a second market. And we operate now in 2 countries, which is Germany and Switzerland.
So when you started from zero in Switzerland, what did you do to get your first users on the app?
It was not zero, because I did Numbers before, and as well founded another company right before Numbers. So there was some money in the company, which I founded or kind of financed by myself. And the first thing that you need to prove that your model works is to prove kind of some, I would say, conversion points. People being interested in your product, newsletter registrations. People being interested in signing a mandate, which is kind of the core business of us, having a full mandate, which is the power of attorney of a customer. So going step by step on the website and making sure that there are customers out there that like what you do. So we bought some email addresses in Switzerland, we pushed newsletters out, we had some 100 registrations on kind of locking in email addresses on a website. And then we contacted them and tried to convert them in a mandate. We sent the mandates out to the carriers. We got the policies in, and it was a proof point of the funnel works on a low scale, which problems and challenges come afterwards when you start to scale. But at least we knew what the trigger is. Till now, the trigger is overview for the customer. It's simplicity. It's kind of care from a digital age. So having a broker in the pocket, just feel that people and that the broker cares about you and optimizes your portfolio constantly. An overview. And so this is what we advertised and said, hey, we have a nice application, just put in your mail address and we will notify you as soon as it's ready. And we had the phone number. And with the phone number, we called and just cold called. It's not really a cold call, it's a warm lead call, and tried to convert.
Okay.
So that was the start.
And at which point did you realize that the product worked, that you have a market need, you have product market fit? What was that?
I think there are different stages of product market fit. So I think when your first email comes in your, I think it was a MailChimp, SendGrid at that point, you have the feeling of, there is a product market fit. People are registering, which was cool. Because if you send out newsletters, you have immediate response. So usually, 10 to 15 minutes after you send out the newsletter, either you have 10 registered guys or just forget it. So I think this was the first very positive feeling on there is a need. Though as you don't have the product, you can say you have a product market fit, but essentially you have I would say you have a interest fit. So there is no product and there is no market because you have not monetized. And this is where you kind of go the next step in where you build the product and try to kind of really advertise on the product and on the funnels, because the funnels are even more important than realizing you have an interest fit. Because usually, specifically in e-commerce and as well in app business, the funnels differ quite clearly. So putting trust elements there, having auto suggestions for certain points. We have a signature in our funnel, so it's a quite high kind of dropping screen, because you have to have a lot of trust towards Knip to make the signature and to give your power of attorney to Knip. Can go to my carriers and ask for my policies, and they will put it into the application. So I mean, these are all the things that we figured out on the way. But I think the first point where we felt like, this might be a good idea, was when we got the first email addresses and we kind of pushed around the ideas. The funny thing is, if we ask kind of possible customers or potential customers about what we had in mind, it was like, this is a cool idea. So having all the policies in the phone, you don't need a broker anymore. When we asked the insurance carriers, it was like, what the fuck are you doing? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Why should the customer want to have policies in the phone? I mean, there's a broker which drinks coffee and its only purpose to drink coffee. And nobody really wants that. So I mean, you have to reflect properly on the opinions that you get. And I think, I mean, we are constantly in the phase of proving our product market fit. So it has not stopped, just the expectations raise.
Interesting point. You mentioned that you did a lot of email marketing in the beginning. What other things did you do, or maybe after that, to get more users, more growth?
I think it's really a process, and the channels change. And that's, I think, the interesting points. The channels change because the channel metrics, and I think that the channels as well are used more or less, or convert more or less, or you want to have a higher leverage in the end. I mean, you're using TV because you want to scale fast, because you have a product that you assume is suitable for a broad target audience. And then you just squeeze in and try to make it happen. So at the beginning, we focus really on the kind of personalized channels, which is, I mean, Twitter and Facebook. And I think it was 2015, beginning 2015, roundabout, where they performed amazing. I mean, it was customer acquisition cost below €50. You could scale it to some 10,000 euros a day, and it would perform the same way.
Using advertisement on social media.
Yeah. Okay. But it's different now. So it changed completely because the big brands are all pushing on Instagram and Facebook. The prices are up, and it doesn't make any sense as of today for us to make social media advertisement, because we have a ×5, ×10 multiple on the acquisition cost, because it just got so expensive. So that was kind of the beginning as well. SEM is not really important for us as a channel, more from a branding perspective, because if we advertise on health insurance, the click cost would be so high that it doesn't make sense. And we sell a solution. So as being a solution, you don't advertise on transactions, you advertise on the solution. Therefore, display, affiliate. So these were the other channels that we used. But I mean, the main scale when we had a very hard phase where we scaled up from September last year to March this year was TV.
Okay. So what is your conclusion on that now for today? So at which point are you now? You said TV, SEM did not work. So do you plan to grow more using TV ads or maybe more online video?
I think we tried online video. It didn't work for us. Maybe the spot was shit. There are multiple reasons for things not working out. So I think we tried 2 spots and none of them worked. TV is a channel where when you can afford high acquisition costs, and or want to differentiate, I would definitely go for that. But be aware that it needs a lot of budget to experience where you put your money in to make it efficient. I mean, which channels, which times, after which slots or programs you really want to be shown so that you convert. I think it took us $500,000 to get an understanding of that. And until that point, the $500,000 is gone. So it's expensive. And you need the experience and the data points to make it performant. And then I think what you can encounter in TV is the same as it happened with Facebook and SEM. So I think you can scale up to a proper point where you then see the customer acquisition cost goes up exponentially. So you don't want to scale over that point. And with the same message or same TV spot, then the efficiency over time drops. So you have a high kicker, which you shouldn't over kick. Let's say it like this, and then you have to find a time where to stop the spot. Just go off. We think what you did. We think the concept. Do another concept and launch it online. So you always need these peaks in TV to make a difference and to have a performance spot.
How do you measure success of TV campaigns?
Yeah, I think in the current. I didn't imagine it 1 year before, but there are ways how to attribute TV installs. So there are tools where you can really see. Essentially, what you do is you put your kind of TV plan into the tool. And there are multiple tools that do that, like Spot Effects and TV Squared. I think there was another one which was even bought and kind of canceled the whole project because they felt they don't want to have transparency. So what you do is you put in your spot plan into the kind of algorithm. On the other hand, you have all the install data points and interaction data points of your customer base, including all the organics, the paids, the Facebooks, and so on. And the algorithm matches the spots with the kind of programs who you're on and the kind of the reach that the program has. With the interactions that the customer had in your database. So it's not a one-to-one match that you can guarantee, but at least it's a high probability because you're having a baseline and a peak comes in when a spot kind of launches, and the peak usually is 5 to 10 minutes.
You have a correlation.
And you cut off the peak and relate the peak to kind of the TV channel. So I would, from my understanding, from the numbers I've seen, you can say 80 to 90% accuracy on tracking in TV.
So your product is a digital insurance manager. Which formats or which shows on TV have been most successful? If you can say that.
Yeah, sure. Let me recall it correctly. So I think everything that is male-ish or has a male target group worked well for us. Sky, D-Max, everything around cars and really male stuff. What didn't work out at all was the golden channels like the Sat.1 Gold, Kabel 1, everything where older people watched because I assume they have no interest in having a digital insurance broker. Their interest is more, around fancy clothes for older sports or whatever. But you really see it's a huge difference. So you have a factor, on the good channels where you have as well, or where you can buy media for 90-95% discount versus buying media on the Sat.1 Gold where you can buy, for 80-85% discount. There's a kind of customer acquisition difference of times 6, times 7. So huge difference.
Wow. Is that target group the same then in online media?
Yeah,
so do you have online more males?
For us, it's really, we are a male product.
Okay.
Male 35, that's urban, that's our target group. And it works the best. It's way up, target group number 1.
Why?
I think because men care more about their financial security and about the financial life of the family. So if you look at the person that kind of is the average Knip person, it's either, I would say, young professional being 5-6 years in a job, starting to think about buying home, house, flat, whatever, so kind of getting risk averse at the point, or young family. So having first kids, thinking about how to secure my children. I want to have everything ordered that is around kind of protection. So that's our assumption of how kind of Knip works and what the perfect target group is.
Okay. A lot of media stations are giving away airtime for equity.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would recommend to startups to do?
I think what you have to be aware of is that media, let's not call them media stations, but like publishing houses, they have a way different incentive than a startup has. So if they participate in equity in your startup, usually they are not incentivized, internally at least, on the high valuation kicker that you can reach in an exit. They are more incentivized on getting the money back. So usually they come in at a Series A and they sell at a Series C, just because they want to. Their incentive is cash for media, and media is so cheap currently that they can just win in the end. Media deals work the way in TV usually that you get 70 to 75% discount on the gross media that you're kind of getting. So 75% off is the net that you convert into stock or equity. And from the 15% let's take 70% discount, 30% left that is converted into equity, or at least is the portion that is equity related. They want to have 50% in cash. So anyway paid out and 50% in equity. And then the question is, as you're anyway paying half of the price of the, 30%, and usually if you go over an agency, you can get it for 80% discount. The question is, why do you do it? I think there's no real reason behind. If you can get a deal, take Zalando. Zalando's success was made out of a amazing media for equity deal they did with ProSieben, and I think they fucked up ProSieben with the deal, and ProSieben learned they will never do this deal again. But it was over 90% discount and fully equity, and with that they just blasted in TV, and they got the brand that they have now. So it worked out, but they learned, and you will not get the deal that really helps you in the current state of the media industry.
So what would be a deal that you would do?
Rev share, so everything that you can properly track, and where the incentive on both sides is leveraging your business, not just giving away cheap cash and cheap media and ideally getting cash for it. So revenue share. I think even lead makes sense in certain models, depending on what you have. You have a moving platform or something, a lead model would be fine. But you have to have value on your platform, on your product, on your model, so that a deal makes sense. Otherwise, I wouldn't engage. Or, I think another way could be more or less the Zalando way, if the terms are fine. If you see competition coming in, same model, kind of Me Too business like we had with the Clarks and the GetSaves, and you really want to differentiate by building a brand, by pushing into media, I would think about media for equity with a TV station, but only with a proper deal.
Did you yet have a good rev share working relationship?
No. Because media parties will not engage on a rev share in Switzerland.
Why?
Because they're getting paid for TKPs. Why should they? We have, if you try to do integration with one of the big media houses, they always ask for setup fees. They always ask for TKP related, media buyings. So there is no interest. And you specifically see now in the alliance of, I think, Swisscom and Renier, how's it called, Admira or so? They're building a monopoly to hold their TKPs. So that's the only reason why they're doing it. If you come to a point where you go from TKP to CPC, they have to bring performance, and the channels don't perform.
Fast forward 2 or 5 years, will these media houses still have that comfortable situation that they can act like that?
I think they will try everything to be in that stage, which you see now of kind of people grouping up in terms of, advertisement, pooling, or however they want to call it. So I hope not, but I'm quite convinced that they will put in everything that they have to hold the situation, because they see in Germany how it turns out. If you move away from TKP and you cannot do, their argument is branding, but Banner doesn't brand. That's full bullshit. And as well as sponsoring, I don't know, on a football shirt doesn't brand. TV, if you really hammer hard into TV, that has a branding effect, but brand gets less and less important. I think that's the situation which you have. So brand is no argument for a startup, because a startup needs to perform, it needs to bring revenue, it needs to generate value. I think it doesn't work with the structure that we have.
So did I understand you right that TV was the channel that drove most growth to Knip?
I think it drove about half of the growth that we have till now. Yeah.
What about the other half?
Mixture of PR, organic, and Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, roundabout. So I'm not quite. I would say Facebook a quarter, and then the other half is organic and press. Other quarter is organic and press. Yeah.
Which kind of PR did work for Knip? What did you do? What was the most successful PR?
Everything that is broad media. So, you have to think out of the box. Which one example we just released last week, and which was a blast in the last 2 weeks for us, is Pokemon insurance. It's ridiculous, and it's, in a way, it's an incentive insurance, which we structured with one insurance carrier. Essentially, it's an accident insurance with some additional features that cover you when you work with hunting your Pokemon. And it was the first one released in I think even in Europe, and we were built on 20 Minutes, on Spiegel TV, on RTL. So this works. It's not really close to your core business, but how do you want to kind of market from a press point of view a digital insurance broker? Yeah. It's not possible. So you try to pick elements and build a big story around it. We did promi insurances, for example, so celebrity insurances. So I think it was 1 or 2 months ago.
I can make an insurance against.
No. That essentially the press release was the most pricey celebrity insurances. So Mariah Carey insured, I think, her legs or her ass for 300 million euros. And you make a list of it, top 10, publish it as a press release, and everybody will feature you. So I think that's a direction which works, because you go on broad media. Everything that is niche media or industry media doesn't bring any value. Because, why do you want to be on a insurance broker portal and they are cheering you for the Pokemon insurance? No broker will register at Knip. No insurance carrier employee will register at Knip. So that's not our target audience. Yeah. Our target audience is the classical, casual guy, girl, family. And this is where you need to be. So you need to have a story for them around the topic that you are covering. And then you're getting the leads. So I think, if you take the Pokemon example, I think we, from a reach point of view, we had times 10 visitors every day since we started with the press, I think, till today. So
nice.
There can be a huge effect, but you have to time it. You have to, there are a lot of press requests that are coming in. You have to be able to kind of recall them, to engage with the reporters, with the journalists, and to make them write about you.
Do you play Pokemon Go?
No, I haven't downloaded it, because I think I will get addicted. Which is the reason. It was a reason to not install World of Warcraft, which I didn't do, and I didn't play as of now, and I will not do Pokemon.
Same with me.
So I'm a gamer, therefore that's going to be tough.
What has been your favorite game?
Call
so
of
far?
Duty. I was European champion, so with my team.
Okay, nice. So now we have 2016. What channels do you plan for the future to grow Knip even faster, which I suppose is your goal as the CEO?
Yeah, I think when you develop into a stage where you have the number one position, but we've grown over channels that don't have a, let's say, competitive differentiating effect, to be honest. I mean, maybe we had the better ads on Facebook, maybe we had the better USPs that we promoted, maybe we had the better spots that performed better, but essentially everybody can buy on TV, everybody can buy on Facebook, everybody can buy on Twitter. So there's no differentiator except being better, and being better maybe means 10%, but it's not 200. So the differentiator that kicks now in our industry is that you try to kind of tackle acquisition places that other guys cannot attract or be in, meaning integrations.
Special partnerships.
Going to banks, integrating to bank accounts, and going to telcos, integrating there, going into kind of reach providers, integrating tools where you can get a direct quote, for example. So it's really placing yourself at points where no competition can go in. And with this, you have a long-term differentiator. I think so far, we tried really to be the number one. We tried to be kind of the clear front runner in terms of product, in terms of growth and active customers. But to be honest, it's, let's say, semi-sustainable what we did. So now it's really the turn between hyper growth versus long-term revenue and sustainability of the business.
Yeah, I think that's a question, a goal that many startups have, is how to get into these special partnerships. So what would you say are the prerequisites to get into that position?
I think for us it's always solid investor base, because specifically the funds that invested in you usually have a collaboration, quite close collaboration to big companies. Because usually the big companies invest out of their financials into the funds. And therefore you can lock them in, or they have in their CV someone, let's say a position that was a head of or C-level at the big corporations, and angels and VCs in a way. So it's really your network that you build. It's as well the position that you have. So it's easier being a number 26 to get a corporation with, I don't know, a big telco than being a small player in the market, because you cannot leverage. As a big player, you will always leverage. And the position that you brought yourself in on the one hand the startup industry, on the other hand kind of the, how do you say that, the Wahrnehmung, so the appreciation from other people. And if they know what you're doing and if they have a positive view on it, that's always the best start you can have. If they even use your app, perfect. So they will not refuse. Yeah.
So is it possible to skip these expensive high growth phase and go directly into partnerships?
I think, I think it's, for sure it's possible. You have to be aware that, the scale and the time it takes to enter in these huge partnerships, just encountering, it's not really partnership, but we worked on our AXA contract in Germany 2 years. Just to get the insurance broker contract with AXA Germany. Because it's a large corporation, you go 3 times through legal, 2 times through the board, and turn your rounds. And I think that's the time, not for big corporations, if they really want it, but if you have to incentivize them or they don't approach you, usually it's you're approaching them and you want something from them, to get them to a point where they kind of feel the heat, where they feel the upside, takes a lot of time. And it's not only one person that you have to convince, because usually it's not a family-owned business, but it's a stock-listed business. There are a lot of stakeholders.
What are the biggest learnings in these years since you built Knip? For you as a leader, as a person, as a CEO?
I think as a person is, calm down and kind of be steady, move forward. Because I think specifically in financing phases or high growth phases, you always face points where you think you cannot make it, where money is out, I don't know, and you have to pay 100 salaries, and the question is how to get to that point. These points are crucial, and usually there are always solutions. So if you are calm but focused and go, step by step through it, you will make it. I think we did it several times as well through the hard points. Being an entrepreneur is a lot of fun, but reflect yourself properly at the situation. We have, I think in total 17 million now in the company. I don't own the majority anymore, so I can decide. I'm quite free in how to handle the business, but I have the expectations of 6 funds behind me delivering 10 times what I invested. So how do you deal with that? Mm-hmm. And they pushing you, squeezing you, sometimes nice, sometimes not so nice. That's part of the game. Be aware of that.
How do you cope with that pressure? How do you handle that?
I think the easiest way how to handle it is to say yourself that you can only do the maximum that you are able to do. So if, at a certain point, we don't deliver the numbers that we should deliver, or the board feels Dennis is not the right CEO anymore. I think as long as I did everything that I'm happy with myself, and I kind of really performed 120%, you have to be fine with that. So the situation sometimes overcomes you. We had the situation with Christina, and I know a lot of founders that kind of lost their power under pressure because really squeezed you down and you're flushing in depression. Mm-hmm. If you have a solid stand, reflect yourself, be self-confident, but as well know that you're not perfect, the investors are not perfect, and sometimes you cannot. You get a feeling of how a situation can turn out, but you never know how it will turn out, and you cannot influence it by 100%. I think you should be aware of that. So Knip is big now, but we are not profitable yet, so we can crash against the wall, and I think that's the situation where we have to be aware of. So we have to do our best to not crash, but to perform. And always saying this to yourself and having a solid base from family, girlfriend, etc. I think is the best basis that you can have, though it will never, make your bad dreams at night go away. Mm-hmm. So they are part of the game.
And what drives you to do what you do?
It's freedom and the power as well to be able to do, not what I want, but what I feel is the right thing, to bring it, whatever it will be. I'm coming from e-commerce, I did numbers, which is banking before, and now insurance. I really don't care about the topic. It's really about, there's an opportunity, let's face it, and let's see what we can turn it into. And as long as I have kind of the pioneering spirit in the company and for myself, I think that's a situation which I want to be in. If it turns into corporate, I would refuse on it, and I think then I'm the wrong guy. And I think that's as well a thing that you have to reflect. So if the company turns into an organization which has to deliver profit, which gets a corporate, which has is the typical KPI investor relative relation from a startup point of view, I think I wouldn't enjoy it anymore. And this is the time I would say there are CEOs that can deal better with it. As I am, because I really want to solve problems, fix things, and ideally involved with a big challenge, which the challenge is the insurance industry by itself, because it's so old-fashioned and unstructured that we can do a lot of good things for the customer.
So thanks a lot, Dennis, for your time. It was a pleasure, a honor for me to have you, and this was the first episode. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks for your time. Enjoyed it as well. Cool.